The Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast is dedicated to all things Horus Heresy. This podcast delves into the grimdark universe where Primarchs clash, legions rise, and loyalties fracture faster than a Land Raider's track. But it's not just about the lore of the Horus Heresy. The Accountabilibuddies also explore the gaming side of things, from painting and modeling tips to product reviews and ideas to help you in your hobby. So, whether you're a seasoned Forge World veteran or a fresh-faced scout, this podcast is your Vox channel to the galaxy. Expect discussions on lore, modeling, gaming, and maybe even the shenanigans that your hosts somehow seem to find their way into. Remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there are only two things you can count on: heresy and your trusty Accountabilibuddies.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 93 of the Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast. My name is John, and this week I'm joined by
Duncan,
Jack,
and Jamie.
And before we kick it off to Hobby Progress, let's see what our sponsors have been up to.
Do you love resin bases? Then go to our sponsor, Elric Hobbies, for all of your basing and basing accessory needs. Use code HERESYABB at checkout for a discount. Legendary Monument Hobbies. Monument Hobbies is a one-stop shop for all of your painting needs. Use code HERESYABB at checkout for a 5% discount on your purchase. Pop Goes the Monkey. Find maker of third-party accessory bits of arms, legs, backpacks, and more, where you can get 10% off your first order over $125 with code HERESYABB at checkout.
Well, thank you very much, sponsors, and I'd also like to thank everyone that's joined our Patreon and is going to be helping us cover some of the shipping costs and things that are associated with some of our contests that we've got going on right now. As far as Hobby Progress goes, I guess I'll go ahead and kick it off. I finally figured out how I wanted to decal my Russes, and I've got 7 of the 9 Russes decaled right now, and I'm putting the other decals on the last 2 right now. I ended up with 30 decals per tank, and so there's 4 custom Cobra symbols, and then some like Do Not Step and Warning and things like that all over them, and then the vehicle markings as well on these tanks. And I think they're coming out pretty good. I've also got to finish up the last 2 infantry guys that I need. I managed to get all of the Sentinels based and got their turrets finally rebuilt. I broke in a couple last weekend when we went out and gamed. And then I got so the Sentinels, they're basically toys, but they're really, really gloss coated. And so what I did was I went through and cut off all of the canopies from the toy. It's just like a little hinge, and I went ahead and broke that hinge so that way I can go ahead and flatten the toy itself, but keep that nice gloss coat on the canopy look, so that way it looks like it's kind of meant to be there. And I was worried that the spray can that I used might kind of fog it up and make it look like a crap. This way I can kind of experiment with it a little bit easier. And then I put all the Sentinels in their custom battle foam trays, and they fit really nice. So I don't have to worry about anything there. And then while I was running a couple errands this week, I stopped by Daiso, the Japanese dollar store, and found this little, like a plant pot, but it's kind of like a stand. And it looks really cool. It looks like a statue stand. And I went ahead and picked that up to help with some of the Blake's terrain that I'm going to be working on starting when I get back from Texas Open. So I've got a lot of stuff to add on to that. I picked up, like I said, I picked up one of the Space Marines that was on the Joy Toy Space Marines that was on sale that I'm going to be putting as a fallen statue on there. I've got some broken tanks and some misprinted things that are going to go on there as terrain as well, and some other things that I can kind of jazz it up a little bit. So he's not just getting a set of buildings, he's also going to get some scatter terrain to go places. And then other than that, I've been trying to work towards Texas Open. Oh, I did one thing that's kind of hobby tool related. So they make these, if you do a lot of jigsaw puzzles, they make these like stackable trays that you can kind of push together and keep all your jigsaw puzzle pieces together, so that way you're not losing them between work sessions. And I always thought those were kind of neat, and the fact that they don't really lock, that they just kind of hold together with friction would help kind of make them usable for storage. And so I picked a set of that up, and that is how I'm starting to separate my vehicle decals. So if I'm doing the same exact decal on every tank, except for, maybe the numbers change or maybe a couple other slight differences, I can go through and just drop one decal on each one of these trays as I'm going through and working through. So it makes it a little easier to go through and kind of organize the decals as I'm working through things. And that's been it for me. What about you, Jamie? What have you been up to?
So I've started building White Scars toys for Tots Army. Started building the suicide speeders. That's about it. Looking to get parts for the rest of the army. I'm going through seeing what other flim-flams and doodads I need to add on. I have like the base kits for everything. It's just I'm looking for the flim-flams and doodads that I'm adding on to round it out. So been kind of grinding on that, seeing what shopping I need to do, and then that's pretty much it, I would say. I've been super busy with work this week. So I guess I'll pass it off to let's go Duncan.
Oh, okay. So this week I got I worked more on the World Leaders, got another squad ready for a lot of stuff. They're ready for their decals. They're ready for their final touch of any touch-ups that need to be done. Once I get the decals on them, I will kick over to the third squad, who are pretty much in the same spot. Get the decals done on them, get the touch-ups done on them, get both those two squads and the other squad finally sealed again, and then I will go ahead and kind of assembly line the enamel wash that I do on all of them to kind of highlight the dirty and dingy and beaten up, and then I'll do the final battle weathering and eye glow, and I'll be done. So I'm actually kind of happy with how those three squads have gotten to this point. Other than that, I finally got an order that I made a while back. I have now gotten 2 copies of the Horus Axeman miniature and 1 copy of that Tybalt Mar, or whatever his name is, the other Sons of Horus warlord that was released that has been next to impossible for anyone to get. I got 1 of him and I got 2 of Axeman. Axeman's in a lot of pieces, and there's a lot of flash, and there's a lot of sub assemblies that are going into him right now, and I'm actually working on him while we're recording.
I like the way, though, that they made it so you don't have to use him as Axeman. So, like, the cape thing is there, but you don't necessarily have to use it. Even though it's like 3 parts, they still at least sculpted the stuff that's underneath the cape, so you can still, like, not use it.
That is one of the things that I like a lot better about this than I did about the Champion, because the Champion, or the Trader Champion, did not have that flexibility. So the fact that he does, I find that really, really nice. And I'm gonna say this. Thank you again to John for the recommendation of the Rua tools a couple of months ago, because those nippers have been a godsend on this compared to my old nippers. So they're not quite God hands, but they are so much better than the other nippers that I used to use for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, Brian recommended those ones to me, but I think it's good to just have them all. I know I'm kind of the tool whore guy, but I don't mind being able to test them out for everybody to be able to recommend things.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely 100% cool with it. So I'm not going to pause on the World Eaters, but because I'm not going to use the Sons of Horus for right now. So I'm just going to put these guys, get them cleaned up, get them ready for doing whatever, and not paint them. But I will have them pretty much ready for or mostly assembled and ready for paint when I do get around to getting back to the working on the Sons of Horus more. I just don't really feel myself wanting to work on them, so I'm just going to keep going on the World Leaders because I need to get this done for next year for Adepticon, for myself, and for Jack. Other than that, I got a chance yesterday to have a game with our friend Trevor, or my friend Trevor, or our patron Trevor. Shout out to him. We got a nice 3K game in. It was fun. It was his word bearers versus my Blood Angel Burt list. And we had one objective, as I've been trying to write some rules for an event that's coming up that I'm probably going to be running an event for. And we tested out the rules. They worked great. We both lost the game. That was entirely excellent. So I guess technically it was a draw. We both failed the primary, and we both scored 3 on secondary. So that was kind of something that I was thinking could occur in it. So that does lead to a bit of tweaking will be needed for the mission, but it's definitely a thing. But other than that, I have not done much. So I will go ahead and throw it over to our dear friend Jack, who I know has done so much hobby work this week. Jack, what have you done?
I assembled some scatter terrain. Yeah, so the news.
Okay. Yeah, so to the news. John, what you got for us, brother?
Yeah, so this week, as far as releases go, was kind of lacking a bit. We saw the drop of some of the Necromunda books, so you can use the Necromunda game that came out. And then for pre-order wise, coming out next week will be a bunch of Legionis Imperialis stuff. So we're getting plastic, tiny little bitty saber tank. It's a box of 8. We're getting termite assault drills, a box of 8. And then Lehman Russ Exterminator / Annihilators, and that's going to be another box of 8. And so that's going to be all the kind of official Heresy releases that we're getting next weekend.
Okay.
As well as some of the Blood Angel kits are going to start dropping. So I know that they've been kind of contentious as far as how they look. I think Lamarty's and maybe even this is character's name. I forget his name.
The Sanguinor?
Sanguinor.
Astaroth, yeah, that's it. So the one that's got the
goth
Stoker
metal
Dracula.
dude.
Yeah, the Bram Stoker Dracula looking armor. It would be kind of cool to use as a character, especially since these are Primaris. They're going to be a little bit bigger, so using them as characters in your army would be kind of a little bit more imposing.
So,
yeah, I think if they're doing them not in metal like they used to be, there'd be some way to do something with them.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jamie.
I was going to say, not that we're a 40K show, but I know there are some very, very salty Blood Angels players right now.
Oh yeah, so the Sanguinary Guard models were previewed this week as well, and those are, as far as compared to the last ones, really bland. They lost their dimples. They lost their kind of all the details on their weapons. They lost their giant wings. It's really kind of a change up as far as the whole thing is concerned.
They've got little cherub winglets.
Yep. For anybody out there who is thinking about building a Sanguinary Guard for their Blood Angels, find one of the old box sets while you can.
Yes.
The aesthetic is utterly different, and they don't really look anything close to what they did before.
The new ones don't even come with the right weapons for Heresy. So if you want to run them as Sanguinary Guard, you're going to have to be able to find the Firstborn box.
Yep. So good luck. May the odds be in your favor, I guess.
And then yesterday we had a preview for the next kill team. It's going to be called Operation Hivestorm. This is going to be Tempestus Aquilons, which is basically Tempestus Scions with gravity pack and a bunch of cut down operator style weapons. So a lot of pistols, a lot of daggers, carbine versions of the Melta-gun and plasma gun versus Vespids. I think that the Aquilons will work really, really awesome for doing militia or solar rock. In fact, the militia get that special trait where they can take gravity packed double pistol wielding recon squads, and so that's exactly what you get in this box, as well as the all those other different weapons that you can kind of steal for all your other guys.
The terrain
the terrain that comes in this is really awesome. Well, the expansions are, the accessories are. I think that the buildings themselves look a little bland compared to some of the other buildings we've had before, but there's also upgrade and accessory sprue that's going to be coming out. It comes with 2 chest-high walls, 2 barbed wire sections, 2 kind of
Smoke grenades.
shield looksons, and then 2 very large, like almost HESCO barriers, and then you've got deployed smoke, you've got some landmines, some booby-trapped ammo cap boxes, and then as well as improvised ladders and stuff. So that's going to be a really cool sprue set to put out for people later.
Yep.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of bits there that people can find use for.
And then some of the Space Marine 2 accessories started shipping. So right before recording, my Space Marine 2 chair came in, and that's what I'm sitting in today. Managed to throw it together. So this is the Secret Lair or Secret Labs chair. I've already had a Cyberpunk chair, and since Christina had a bunch of little office chairs in her previous room that I'm taking over, I tossed those out, and I'm moving my Cyberpunk chair in there, and then I took the Space Marine chair, and now it's in my office. So if you're looking for decent gaming chairs and also want to rep Ultramarines, I can definitely say that it's a quality chair. It's got a lot of metal parts in it. It holds up my nearly 300-pound 6'4" frame with ease.
Okay. Any difficulty assembling that?
I had a little bit. There's a little plastic piece that goes over the hinge part on the right side that snapped off because you have to kind of roll the chair seat over as you're working on it. It is really just kind of a cheap plastic. That's the only part that's plastic is the protector pieces that kind of keep your fingers from going inside of things. Everything else is all metal. So it's got a full metal base, a full metal hinges, screws and washers everywhere. But for some reason, that little piece of plastic that covers the hinge snapped off on this one. And so I'll be sending the company an email. But if it doesn't work, I can always just kind of JV weld onto the existing Phillips screw or something like that, just to make sure my fingers don't go into that hinge part.
Makes sense.
And then it comes with a little bitty purity seal that works kind of like an old-fashioned button of a snap clasp, and that goes up on the back. It kind of feels a little cheap. Doesn't necessarily like snap with a real resounding sound. So I'm going to leave that off just in case, because it's also like on the edge of the chair. So anytime you walk by it, you're going to snag it, or anytime you get up without noticing how far you push the chair back, it'll obviously spin and rotate right into that section and smack into something. So it's going to be safer without it.
Okay.
Other than that, it's just like a normal Secret Lab chair. I definitely recommend them if you don't have a Secret Lab chair or you're looking for something that's going to support you and be a decent investment.
All right. Well, thankfully, I'm happy with my Lazy Boy for right now, so I will not be getting a new Secret Lab chair for a while.
Joy Toy announced 2 new Terminator characters. So these are Indominus Terminators. One is an Ultramarines captain in Terminator armor with a combi plasma gun and power sword, and then there's an Iron Hands captain with a combi melt-a-gun and power fist, as well as some repainted Tyranids, and then some figures from other. I don't know what, like an anime or something, like a video game maybe. I don't recognize this thing called Battle for the Stars. I think that's an anime. But that's all we've really got from all the affiliates this week.
Okay.
We are 3 weeks out from Space Marine 2's release.
Yep, that's definitely a thing. It's going to be coming soon. I know a couple people out there have it pre-ordered in various states. I myself have it pre-ordered for the Xbox, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I also checked it is cross-play, so that's a good thing too.
Yeah, I've got it for PS5, and I've been thinking about picking up one for PC as well. That way I can do both of them.
I'll probably end up getting it for PS5 and Xbox because the kids want to play it, and there's nothing wrong with mindless violence for the kids. So,
nope,
Yep.
that's how we were all raised. That's why we all love Heresy and 40K and Warhammer Universe so much, I think.
I think I'm going to create a chat group in our Discord to make finding groups a little easier for that.
Oh, that'd be cool. That would definitely be a neat thing to do.
We've already got an online gaming voice channel. So if you're on and you want to be able to talk to people, you can use that. But I'll go ahead and make an online one for making Space Marine groups.
That would probably be a good idea, at least for a short while.
I mean, I know it's 40K and everything, but
It's a video game.
it's a video game, and it's getting a lot of hype right now. A lot more than I've seen in a while for many video game.
Yeah,
I will
and
say that I'm really
know,
glad I'm glad it's not just another Souls like it's not just another punishingly difficult video game. It looks more 2010, and that was probably the last time that a lot of us like to just sit. There's nothing wrong with just sitting down, having a power fantasy of being able to just murder everything in front of you. Ammo counter go down, body counter go up, and you feel better about it. It's so you don't have to have a spec ops the line and be able to wonder about the crisis of infinite warfare or whatever. You just want to murder things, and I think that this game looks like it's going to be that in spades.
It absolutely does. And while you were saying that, I was sitting here going, "World Leader player, what?" But yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to play that with people. I don't normally care that much about online play because I'm not of the age where I want to get yelled at by children who want to twitch and go crazy with whatever. But I will play this with people. I don't care. It'll be fun.
That's why I like it has the PvE and PvP, so you can just join up with your two buddies and just go murk things, or you can be a twitchy child and spam team kills and stuff.
Yeah. That's we'll see. It'll be fun no matter what we do.
Yep.
One thing I wanted to bring up for those of you who are absolutely interested and must have stuff in every single possible way you can. The End of the Death Volume 3, the paperback edition, according to Amazon, is going to drop on the 22nd of October. So we're a little bit over 2 months away from that coming out.
Well, if they enter our contest, they could get a collector's edition back version before that.
They could? Wow, what a
segue.
What a segue, John. What kind of contest are you talking about?
Absolutely. So if anyone wants to enter the contest, just simply go onto our Discord at heresypodcast.com. Look for the Discord channel that is called Contest Channel, and post whatever your favorite part of the podcast has been. So whether that's a certain topic we covered, or you like hearing about the event coverage, or you like the way that Jamie keeps building rhinos, it really just, whatever it is, you're going to get an entry in to win. And if you happen to be a patron when we do our drawing, which is going to be during episode 99, you'll get an extra entry into the drawing to win.
Yes, you will. And what are they going to win, John?
A collector's edition of End in the Death Volume 3.
So that's one of the special hardback numbered ones with all the gigas and everything, but not signed, correct?
Oh, no, it is signed. It has a fold-out map.
Oh, really?
And it has a gold Aquila on the cover.
Wow. That's really neat. And it's free
leather
for them to do this?
Absolutely. Absolutely free. We will ship it worldwide.
Man.
After shipping to Canada, I know what roughly that's going to cost. Roughly one leg, arm maybe not included. So, but we will, to our listeners, we will go ahead and ship this worldwide.
Okay. Well, that's good. Is there any news left that we have not discussed at this point?
Next week, I guess we're going to see the actual full release of the Mechanicum stuff.
Finally.
So if you're waiting on that stuff, your FLGS will start getting that in next week. I know that the Texas Open will be next week as well. So I was talking to the guy that I Dallas Marathon Games is the kind of store that we usually play at, and he was talking. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll be bringing a bunch of those boxes, John. I know you want them." I was like, "No, I don't need another army. Please don't." I'm trying to stay away from those.
I do know that a couple friends of ours, Mike up in Pennsylvania specifically has seen that already and has gotten 2 boxes, I think, maybe 3. I'm not sure.
Of what?
Mechanicum.
The
There's
Mechanicum?
Mechanic. Dave Sampson's already gotten a couple boxes and started building them as well up in Nashville.
Neat.
I saw that there was a bunch of tutorials starting to hit from some of the more connected painters. So on YouTube.
Yeah, I will say from what I've seen from some of the people posting them building the plastic kits, there are size differences from the not
thralls.
subtle size differences either from the resin ones.
Yeah, I've heard that the thralls are differently sized and a couple of the things are slightly different.
Yep. The thralls are like, they stopped taking protein shakes and creatine and human growth hormone. They're that much smaller. So
they took off their platform shoes?
Yes.
I mean, that kind of makes sense. They're like they've kind of changed the fluff on the way those work. They used to be vat grown. Now it seems that they're going more with like a zombie approach.
Yeah. But just be aware if you already have them that there is a noticeable size difference. So
okay. Well, I think at this point that's about all the news we have. Am I right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, we do have a bit of a topic that it seems to be an oddball suggestion, but it is kind of a thing. So, I don't know how best to broach this topic. So, John, do you want to go ahead and prepare our listeners for what we're going to be going on about tonight?
Yeah. So we all really started listening to Heresy Podcast in ye olden days of 2015, 2016. And one thing that RFI and many other podcasts were known for was for the call-in. And some of the voicemails that were left were things that would scar the mind, like many early internet posts. So, however, usually there was no acting out, there was nothing like that. But some of the things there that people discussed were a little oddball, and so I thought it would be kind of funny if we kind of talked through our oddest hobby accidents, simply because I always thought it was funny. I think it's hilarious sometimes that the stupid things that we end up doing. Obviously, for me, I'll start with the worst one was 2010. I was walking a completed Space Wolf army to my car after a bad snowstorm in Texas, and slipped on the ice. And as I was falling, my brain thought, if you land on these, you're going to have to repaint all 200 odd Space Wolves. And so I decided to fall in a way that tried to catch the army with my left elbow and landed pretty badly, broke my left elbow, and really screwed up my back for the rest of my life. So that ended up tearing my L4-5, and I'm still recovering to that one to this day. But that's kind of the way that we're looking here. So trigger warning going forward. Obviously, we're going to go through some damaging discussion about things that we've done while hobbying, or ways that we've accidentally hurt ourselves, or drunken madness, or whatever you want to kind of go through and talk about. I thought it'd be a funny topic to have just kind of a quick discussion on.
Oh God. Okay, so before we go any further, John, I want to know what happened to the Space Wolves.
They were fine. I got them to the guy, and he was. So I learned, and this is one of the reasons I kind of stopped commission painting, was the guys that I was painting for were definitely older in years. And as I was painting models for them, I noticed that they got a lot pickier on payday. So if I turned the models in on the 1st or the 15th, they were happier. But if I turned them in like midweek, they got really picky with like, oh, this isn't the right shading, or this isn't this right thing, or that right thing. So also the guy that I sold those, or that I did those for, had a real tendency to flip armies. So he had those Space Wolves for all of 2 weeks before he ended up selling them to somebody else. And then 6 months later, he bought them back from that person for more than he sold them for. and I don't know what happened to him after that. I think he sold them again after that.
So, okay.
So moral of the story, which I think is important to every one of these, let your body fall how it wants. You can always repaint things later.
All right. Well, try not to fall over. Who wants to lead off with their hobby nonsense story?
I've dremelled myself before, and then I dremelled myself, and this is with the drill bit, not the sanding bit. So
Yeah,
I've dremelled
done-
into my hand, into my thigh, into my finger. Yeah, there's no really story behind it other than I'm an idiot. Yeah.
I had one that's right up that alley, Jack.
Okay.
So I was drilling barrels, and I dropped the Dremel, and my brain thought mid-fall, those are expensive bits. You should try to stop that. So I stuck my foot out forward, and so as the Dremel is falling while running, it hits my big toe, and because it is a battery-powered Dremel, it's pretty heavy, and so it continues to go until it hits bone, and then it falls sideways and falls out of my foot. And then I picked it up and pulled me out of it, and got back to drilling. And I walked funny for about a week and a half. I didn't break the bit though.
That's the important thing.
Yep. I didn't break an 80-cent bit.
Thank God you saved the 80-cent bit. I was so very worried about that bit. Oh, Lord. I have split my left thumb down basically. Well, okay, so I don't use X-Acto knives. I don't use razor knives or whatever that most people use. I use a box cutter. It's a flip out box cutter with a box cutter blade. It retains its edge really well, especially when it's got a new blade in it, which my current one that I'm holding does right now. I replace the blades in it about once every, 3 to 6 months, depending on need. This was a few years ago. While shaving bits and pieces of Aquila's off of something to convert it to an Iron Warriors bit, so that'll age about how long ago this was. I split, or the blade was new, and it slipped from the Aquila that I was shaving off into my thumb. Split the skin down to the middle of my thumbnail, and stayed there. And I looked at it, and it didn't hurt for very much at all. And I was just like, "Oh, I already know how this is going to go." So I pulled the blade out, squeezed it. Yep, there's blood coming out. So I grabbed the handy Zap-A-Gap bottle that I had right beside me, and I slathered that all over my thumb. Within a few seconds, there was a giant red spot on the thumb from where it was bleeding up into the super glue. I kept putting more and more super glue onto it. And I kept putting super glue onto it because I'm an idiot. Because super glue is non-toxic for the most part, and that's what it was originally designed for, is closing wounds. And it worked. I now have a kind of circular scar on my thumb, right at the tip of it, from where that blade went in there, and it has scarred my entire finger or my entire thumb. But yeah, I decided it would be a good idea just to keep to glue it closed and then keep hobbying, because I was bored and I had nothing else that I wanted to do at that point. So that was probably my worst hobby goof up for myself.
So I have one that's related to that, and also related to Space Marine. So when Space Marine 1 came in, I was opening the shipping box that my collector's edition came in, and I had this kind of cheap gas station folding knife that looks like a double-sided knife, except I wasn't paying attention to which side I was using. And so I'm sitting there trying to cut the box open, and I didn't notice that my thumb had drifted up into the knife blade. And so I'm using my thumb to push into the box, using the blade to push into the box, and going back and forth. And why isn't this thing cutting? And then I noticed that the box was starting to turn red.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I had done is I had flipped the knife over, because they both looked the same if you're not paying that much attention. And I had used the dull side to try to cut the box open, while the sharp side was cutting my thumb open.
John, how are you still alive?
I mean, at this point, are any of us truly alive?
I will say that Christina could understand the severity of the accident by the way I said fuck.
Okay, that's not at all an unreasonable statement. Jamie, you got any fun ones for us? Because I know you do.
Oh, of course I do. Why would y'all think I would not have fun hobby stories like this? Because, of the Nurgle situation that I have at my house, the infestation. So first one I would say is when I was working in a hobby store, we'd often have, like preteens and teens that would like build models. And this was back in the day when you had a lot of hybrid kits that were metal and plastic GW kits, or like Warma Hordes was also metal and plastic too. And so the kids wouldn't like waiting and holding stuff for the bonds to set, so they would go and get like model accelerant or glue accelerant, and not like strategically use the glue accelerant. They would just literally
Hose it down.
Hose or douse the model down with the accelerant, and then use like GW or Gale Force 9 glue, like plastic glue on hybrid kits. And I cannot count the number of times that I had to call 911 and get the EMS units to come to the store, because the kids would literally chemical burn their hands to the point where their skin was falling off. So it got to the point where we stopped selling chemical accelerant in the store, or we found one that didn't cause chemical burns. And so, yeah, that was kind of my first introductory lesson into hobby mishaps. Go ahead.
When I worked at the hobby shop, there's some mini stories about the chemical burn. One of the RC tech was like, "Yeah, I don't know what you guys are complaining about. I never have that bad." And so he decided to pool up a little bit of super glue in the palm of his hand and then accelerate it, and keep like look you in the eye as he's doing this. He's like, "I don't know what you guys are talking about. This isn't that." And he starts screaming and runs off. I will say that this is the same gentleman who decided that when we broke a couple of display cases, that they went out back of the store and decided to have glass fights. And so they took the broken parts of the display case and threw it at each other until one of them got tired.
So, we had that at the computer place that I worked at. We would hit each other sometimes with leftover neon light bulbs. But yeah,
anyway, this was like glass shelving.
Oh, I understand.
Plate glass, glorious.
So my I also have a problem with waiting time, not for glue, but for when I'm having to reshape resin, like especially for like cords or like connections that you have to take a line and bend it. Well, there's some people that will just glue it so that it goes like basically the only way that the weapon or whatever you're attaching can like be basically like bent. It won't bend. The resin will snap or break before it bends. So the trick is you heat it up. Some people use hair dryers for that, which usually hair dryers, they don't get too hot for my liking, and they can take a while to heat up thicker pieces of resin to the point where they're malleable. So yeah, I even went a step further beyond the hobby heat gun and got a paint remover gun that goes up to like 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. So doesn't really matter how long you run it, but if you put it down and you're not paying attention next to your foot, after you've used it for about a minute to heat up something. Third-degree burns on the side of your foot from touching it. Not very fun.
Mr. Justin told me about one like that where he was doing a demonstration and he'd forgotten his hairdryer and all they had was a heat gun. So he's using the heat gun as a hairdryer.
Oh.
And so he was just, painting the model along and then had forgotten about the fact that he'd been using the heat gun and grabbed the model like mid-class.
Yep.
And his brain just disconnected and he threw it across the glass.
So hobby heat guns are actually not too bad. I actually highly recommend them, especially working with resin. But like paint removal heat guns is a totally different class of heat gun. It's like,
oh yeah.
So I used to do a lot of LED model kits for people. Like it was like one of my things. And kind of dating myself, I had a lot of people that wanted me to put LEDs and wire up like a lot of the Necron kits when they started changing over from, let's say, the first generation Necron stuff to like where they kind of started getting like all Egyptian-y looking with the lords and their equipment, like the crescent-shaped flyers and floaters and all that. So a lot of those models are very fidgety, small, and very delicate, and run LEDs, and where people were requesting them to do requires very delicate skills with different styles of X-Acto blades. And needless to say, on multiple of those Necron kits, they also got a little bit of corn worship because I had to just about slice off my fingertips because like trying to carve out that plastic in small spots is just unbearably difficult. And so that's pretty much why I don't do all that anymore, except on like stuff for myself. So yeah, you get stuck with those and X-Acto blades and you just bleed like a stuck pig. And the hobbyist way to fix it, instead of getting a Band-Aid, is just to put super glue on it. So
yeah, it is.
So
I don't recommend it. You will scar yourself badly.
Yes.
That burning sensation you feel when you're using super glue in your eyes. That is so this is me personally. This was something I read on DACA, and I had a friend that worked in optometry who confirmed that this is what happens. That burning sensation when you open super glue is microscopic super glue particles in the air. And so there was a guy on DACA that posted that he had worked over the weekend and had like crunch timed a bunch of assembling a bunch of Tyranids, and that somehow had, because of those microscopic superglue particles in the air, ended up supergluing his contact lenses to his eyeballs.
Oh.
I've heard of that.
And so I will recommend that if you do have contacts, that you try not to hobby with them in place. So, and that's the other kind of reason we're doing this is you need to, we've all made these mistakes before, and obviously the longer you work in the hobby, the more you're going to have funny stories and silly things like this, and we kind of get a bit of a gallows humor about it. But the important thing to remember is a lot of this is we all could have done something to stop it. So when I'm dropping a Dremel tool, obviously if I just would have gotten out of the way, I wouldn't have had to recover for a week and a half. If I just would have not walked on the ice, I would have not screwed my back up for the next 30 years. So, and the other one that's really important with a lot of these knife stories is always make sure your knife blade isn't dull. If it starts taking too long to cut, or you're starting to push more than you think you should, get a new knife blade.
Yep.
Knife blades, you can buy them dirt cheap on Amazon. I buy them in,
you get them in
500.
Like, I was gonna say huge quantities, dirt cheap. So like, if you're having to push very hard or saw with it, just stop and get a new blade.
Yeah, it's a very fine line between a funny story and missing a part from your party.
Up to the emergency room. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna actually counter that. Don't go ahead and do it because it will give you a life lesson. I mean, we all have these stories and life lessons ourselves.
Yeah, you do what you want.
At this point, I would like to say that the opinions of Duncan is not shared by the rest of the podcast or Heresy Accountability Buddies LCC or whatever the company's name is.
Yeah. No, don't follow my advice on that. It's a bad idea. It's just, if you don't go through some of this stuff, you're not going to have funny stories to pass on to the next generation of gamer, who you will be passing on to.
Ooh, I just remembered another good one.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. So this is one that a lot of people probably won't run into, but John may have. But so neodymium magnets, so like super strong magnets, like a lot of people use them to magnetize like weapons and parts on their minis so they can swap them out. Well, when you start talking about minis that are not really minis, that are like maxis, like aka a Titan, and you're putting interchangeable weapons on with them, the level of neodymium magnet that you're having to put on them is quite large. And those magnets, if you get in between them, will crush things. So you you basically have to rotate the magnets apart sideways to get them to unattach. So I was setting up a Reaver Titan that had arm weapons that were magnetized, and somebody was not, I was trying to be careful about it, but somebody else brought over one of the arm weapons and tried to slap it on when my hand was on like basically the socket where it goes in, and it literally crushed my finger between the two magnets. And you couldn't just pull it off. These magnets were like over like a 1/4 inch thick on each one of them. So like they're not coming off by accident. That's why they were using them on the Titan. So like people couldn't take the arms off by accident or knock them off by accident. So yeah, my fingertip was crushed and it was like, basically I probably should have gone to the emergency room and had my finger looked at, because like it was black for like 4 weeks from like a crush injury, which causes all kinds of other problems.
Yeah, Christina had that happen. The kind of fleshy bit between your index finger and thumb you got that caught with it wasn't the 25-pound ones. Those ones I've got a stack of, but I've always been real dangerous with those. Those ones that are about the size of a quarter, but they're about a 1/4 inch thick as well.
Yeah.
Those ones, I use for Warhound arms.
There's plastic spacers you're supposed to use in between them, because like if you put them metal to metal, like they're next to them,
they'll snap.
Get off. Yeah, they snap.
Yeah, if you've got those type of magnets, or you're looking at doing a lot of magnet work, I recommend the Gundam part separator. It tapers to a real good point, and it's something I use to help separate stuff. It's plastic as well, so that way it's not going to get stuck to the magnet.
I guess I'm kind of in the lucky bit there, is that I don't really magnetize a lot of stuff. And most of the stuff I do is like marine arm or backpack small, so I don't have a lot of issue there. I know Jack deals with a lot of magnets because he magnetizes practically everything.
Yeah, magnets exploding in your face are nice and sparky.
What?
Magnets exploding in your space are nice and sparky. If you take 2 really big magnets and let them slam themselves together, you'll get shrapnel and a lot of sparks.
Yeah, all the times using a Dremel tool on old metal models, catching that stuff in your eye or actively overheating it and burning their fingerprints off. Yeah, there's a lot of silly things that can be done that way.
Resin release in your eyeball.
Yeah.
I had one the other day. I've got these. I've been doing a lot of decal work, and if I'm not paying attention, I'll put the watercolor pen in my mouth, and if I squeeze too hard while I'm thinking about something, it'll shoot sideways out, and I'll end up with a mouthful of whatever the heck microsol is. Not something I recommend.
Is it microsol or set that's Windex?
I don't know. Either way, I've done it with both of them.
I thought one of them was vinegar, basically.
One of them's vinegar and the other one's like Windex.
Yep.
Okay. I'm honestly glad I haven't had that issue at all.
Doug gets like aghast at this point, but
no, it's just, I mean, I've sliced the absolute living shit out of my finger. I've stabbed myself with pewter miniatures bad enough that a piece of a spear tip broke off in my arm. I've had pieces of chaos spiky bits embedded in my hand for days. But I've not done the eyeball thing. Knock on wood. Thank God.
I had one up that. So remember the Space Marine that's holding the Space Marine captain, where his right hand was like a storm bolter, and his left hand he was holding the sword up in the air.
Yeah.
My father was. I was kind of a annoying teenager, and he was trying to get my attention as I was trying to paint stuff, and he wasn't paying attention to what he was doing, and so he slammed his hand down on the table, and he slammed it on top of that Space Marine, and that sword went all the way into his palm.
Oh God.
So he got madder after that, which I didn't think was fair. That's not my fault, but it did not help the situation.
I am once again at the point where some of these things just seem a little ridiculous, but
Oh yeah,
I get it. I get it.
John has said it before, but if you're working with resin, use a mask. I mean, you don't want to get like coal miner's lung from resin dust, the fine resin dust when you're sand it and shave it in your lungs, because it really can cause problems like asthma and I'm not going to say COPD, but it's kind of like COPD like problems and cancer too.
You mean black lung?
Black lung, yeah, like miner's lung, yeah.
Yeah, that actually does make sense.
There's also a special type of nose cancer that only people that work with resin and fine woodworking get because of sanding. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Oh yeah,
I know that now if I don't wear a mask, I'll be sick for almost 2 days if I do any resin sanding at all. So I've definitely got something going on already. So try to learn from us as much as you can.
Same thing. Be especially careful if you ever airbrush enamels.
Yep.
Like that's a big no-no. I would tell people not to do it. I know people do it, but if you do it, I would tell you almost to do it outside because it's bad, very bad.
When you're airbrushing, if you can smell it or taste it at all, you need better protection.
Yep.
I will say I've airbrushed. Oh God. So okay, hold on. Story time for me. This is about when my daughter started working for the very first time on her minis for the Thousand Suns. She did it in I think it was January, February, and it was bad weather. And she wanted to go ahead and prime everything because I hadn't had a chance to get around to it for her. And so she set up a fan and she rattle canned everything black in the basement, spraying into a box so everything was caught so it didn't go like all over the floor or the wall or other stuff behind it or anything, but it basically blew all that stuff back, or blew the exhaust of it all back. And then she did a metallic over top of them, and the house stank like spray paint for like a week after that. And I changed the actual air filters, which I had just changed basically a month before that, and were almost clean. And they were black and gold and silver. So if you do make the mistake of blowing that stuff in the house or in a non-ventilated area where you have air exchangers or whatever, that will kill your air filters and it will stink your whole house up until you replace those.
I've passed out,
and that is horribly toxic.
Oh yeah, I've passed out in a room from somebody spray painting in the room, like priming an entire army. Just boop.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it. Like I said, I don't have a lot of unfortunate stories like that, but one thing I will say is I personally have used spray like AK enamels with the AK enamels. I've blown those through the airbrush timer 3, and it does always create a smell when you do that, even with proper ventilation and everything else. So if you do end up doing that, just be very careful with what you're doing. Make certain you have a mask. I will reiterate that elderly, because the first time I didn't, and I coughed for like a week after that.
Oh yeah, the Tamiya clears are the same way. They're absolutely
Yep.
horrible if you airbrush them.
Oh,
You'll be
Tamiya
sick
clear
for, like,
boogers
days
if you're not
after that.
wearing a mask.
Yep.
Ah, that takes me back.
Like aquamarine metallic boogers coming out for several weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. Alpha Legion, hate them.
Clear red, buddy. Clear red. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I thought I had a permanent nosebleed. Phew. It's not fun, but just remember, wear a mask, take personal safety steps, and try to avoid letting your hobby kill you. Because
Yep.
if you don't do this stuff, you can, as you get older, end up with severe illnesses that don't go away from this. People who do a lot of airbrushing and stuff, like commercially, like on cars, frequently end up with COPD. So you don't want that. Anybody else got more fun hobby stories they want to share? Nope.
Well, I
No
think
more
I'm good.
Nope.
Okay. Anybody got some fun, embarrassing shenanigans stories they want to share from gaming events that kind of go along with these?
Sure. So
Don't park too close to somebody's car, or else they might pee on your door handle.
I was
Like-
gonna say, yeah, that, or watch the level of alcohol you consume, because at some point you will put a Space Marine helmet on that's wearable to you and eat a cactus in front of other people.
What?
Yes.
Yeah. Jamie and I were.
Adepticon
that.
were at the venue before the current, well, I guess the previous one, since we're moving to Milwaukee. It was not Schlomberg. What was that area called?
Lombard.
Lombard.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The Marriott Lombard or whatever. There was some guy that got like absolutely just bonkers beyond drunk and was wearing around a Space Marine helmet like the entire con. And one night he was out in the lobby and there was like plants out there, like legit real plants that they'd water, and some of them were cacti, and like he picked up a cactus and was munching on the cactus.
And then he was famous for that from years going forward, and so he would always have a cactus with him.
Yep. And there's also
Okay.
the guy that wears the pink the bathrobe around with the boonie hat.
Oh yeah, the bathrobe guy.
Yep. I think he even has a miniature actually.
I've seen that. I've got him on my friends list somewhere.
I will say that the old Adepticon venue, apparently personal hygiene was also an issue. Not that it's not at every con, but I've actually seen people that smelled so bad that did not take care of their personal hygiene at all the whole time they were there, that the hotel staff actually asked them to leave the premises, and leave their unless they showered with soap.
Yuck. If you go to hell with it. If you go to a con, know your limits socially, and I don't just mean like acting a fool or not showering or not drinking or drinking too much that some of us here may have done a time or 30. But try not to be the example that people point out in the years to come. Because, yeah, it's going to be a great and fun story. I promise that. But somewhere out there are 3 dudes with no neck who tell the story about waking up a bunch of fat, drunken nerds and discovering a room full of vomited on floor, vomited in bathroom, and somebody who said the word car bomb and posted it on social media. Somewhere they're telling that story right now.
Or it was another Tuesday for him. Who knows?
Yeah, it might have been. Who knows? Anybody out there want to send us a terrible hobby accident they want to discuss or tell us about? If they want to send that to us, you can send it to us through the Discord. We will happily read it off. If you want to record it and send it to us, you can send it through the Discord there. You can send it to us through Facebook. You can send it to our show's email address, which we do have, which is show@heresypodcast.com if anyone wants to send us something there. Anybody got anything else they want to discuss?
I think that's it. I look forward to seeing anyone who's going to show up to Texas Open next weekend. We'll definitely have to do a recap after we get back.
Is next weekend
remind me.
next week when we're off?
No. Next weekend we're on. It's the weekend after.
Like
Okay.
Labor Day weekend.
The weekend of the 31st.
Okay.
Yeah, we're off basically August 1st. Does that make sense?
August 1st?
September 1st.
Yeah, sorry, September 1st. If only I knew how to look at a calendar, we're off September 1st. We'll not be recording that day.
Well, I mean, I could, but I'll be at like Disney World or something like that.
I'll be at the ocean, so no. I will give a small tidbit of information that I will shoot out there because I know is literally I'm going to read this off, and it's as much as I know. Right now, there is apparently plans for a gaming convention to be held in Shepherdsville, Kentucky, which is close to Louisville.
Yeah.
In the convention center there next year, mid-September or early October. There is going to be a 30K event there. I know there is because they've asked me to run said 30K event there. I don't know the name of the con. I don't know the name of the event. This is not the same one I discussed about a year ago. This is done by entirely different people, and apparently this one is a legitimate one, not one that's going to be fly-by-night. They are already working on printing terrain to get it painted. They've discussed with me about there's going to be prize support. We're going to pitch in posters and everything from the past years. It's going to be, I don't know how big of an event, but there are vendors. There's multiple game systems. There's going to be Warhammer Fantasy, Age of Sigmar, 40K, Heresy. I don't know about anything beyond that, but I know those 4 are going to be there. For, I guess, Warhammer Fantasy would be the Warhammer of the Old World. There will be Heresy. I think it's $20 for the Heresy event. I'm not certain. I don't know where to get to it or how to find out more information yet because I'm still waiting on it myself. But it is going to be, for the Heresy event, it's looking at between 20 to 25 possible entries from what I can tell. That's all I know so far.
And where's this going to be at? Like part of the nation?
Yep. It's going to be in Shepherdsville, Kentucky, just outside of Louisville, in the convention center in Shepherdsville. It's going to be a multiple day thing, sometime in the middle of September to early October of 2025. And that's as much as I know at this point, other than I'm running the event. So I've been putting stuff together for that mission-wise event so people can get some early play tests in about it and see how it's going to go. So any listeners who are out there might be interested in that. Hey, there's another event coming up next year that you might want to come and hang out at. You'll absolutely see me. Maybe Jack and maybe others. Who knows?
I'm already booked up then.
Yeah, I figured you would be. I also know there is, I believe, going to be a barn event over at in October. I think it's October the 5th. I'm not 100% certain. Nick will put more information about that out when they puts it out, but that is absolutely going on. So there's 2 events coming up in the next little bit. I also know the Michigan GT is coming up. Brian's not here tonight to hype us up about that, unfortunately, but that is going on. And that's the list of the event shout-outs that I have.
Blake and Christopher are running that event the weekend of October 24th, and I guess it's High Ground Gaming in Madison, Alabama, which is like the suburbs of Huntsville. It's a 2-day event.
Oh, cool.
That the cool gaming store that they have up there. I think it's $50 because it's a 2-day. And
Nice.
I think there's different. I think I don't know if it's an escalation, but there's different point stuff because I think they're actually running a couple different. They're like running ZM and Centurion and then like regular games or something like that.
Cool.
And I know they already have. They've heard. I think last time I talked to Blake, I think they had already around 10 people signed up for it. So,
well, that'd be neat. That'd be awesome. See more Heresy events come up is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, and then in November is BolterCon in Cincinnati. BolterCon is held by Bolters at Dawn, which they do. It's like a club system, and every year they run a con, and they have a Heresy event. And
nice.
That's November the 14th through the 17th, and it is listed as on their website a Horse Heresy narrative event.
Well, I think that's one thing that most of us can all kind of applaud is that the events themselves are narrative. I know the event I will be running is narrative based.
Oh, sorry. There's another event. So this one's a lot closer. They're having another Bama Heresy event at, let's see, August 24th. In Gamer Geeks in Warrior, Alabama. It's a smaller event. It's only 1,500 point. It's 1,500 points Centurion, 3 rounds, 4 turns each player. There's some other rules for it because it's Centurion, but yeah, Blake would be mad if I didn't say something about it. And then I'm trying to remember. I'm making sure the dates for the one in October. I may be wrong on it. I think it actually is the first weekend in October.
Okay.
I'm trying to confirm it. Yeah, sorry. It's 5th and 6th of October at 10 a.m. in Madison, Alabama at High Ground Hobbies. Day 1, three 4-round games at 3,000 points. Day 2 is 3 4-round games at 1,500 point doubles. 500 point open ZM will run both days. 3-color minimum, no name characters, and then tickets. You go get in touch with Christopher, or Blake, or Bama Heresy on Facebook.
Well, there you go, folks. I think that's all we have, unless anyone else has another event they want to shout out.
So the December 28th, we're doing a single day event. And then November 23rd, we're doing a Horus Heresy and Legions Imperialis. October 26th, we're doing an open play. And then September 21st, we're doing just Heresy ZM.
You're not
and
having
these are
my
all
birthday
good.
party?
No, sorry. These are going to all be at the Dallas Marathon Games. You're welcome to come get some meat, though. I'll make it special just for you.
Well, anything else going on down there?
No, that's all of them.
All right, then. Yeah, I don't really see anything else in my messages or anything where people have told me more about anything else going on.
Cool. Well, I guess it's time to land this pig. So,
Sounds like
I've been John, and I've been joined by
Duncan,
Jack,
and Jamie.
And remember, guys, always stay accountable to yourselves, to your buddies, and to your hobby. And we'll talk to you next time.
There you go.
Like and subscribe, and see ya.